Welcome to a brand new section. This section is all about functions. Till now we have used inbuilt functions such as print, and in this section we are going to learn how to create our own functions. But before we can create our own functions, I wanted to talk a little bit about functions. The main goal of a function is for your data processing. You have some sort of an input. This input goes inside your function. Your function processes the data, and finally we would like to have some sort of an output. So this is your ideal function. You take an input, you process it, and you give back an output. But in real life, it's not so simple. So let's try learning more about functions. So let us go back to our code editor. Behind the scenes, I have created a folder called as 05 functions, and this is the file called as greeter.py. Let us see what's going to happen right now. So this is a very simple program for greeting, and the people in Zorten, they greet each other by saying Zola. And Louis wants to write a program where he can greet his friends in Zola. So let's define a function, and the way to define a function is by using the keyword called as def followed by the name of the function. So we can say the name of my function is greeter, and this function accepts one argument, and we can call that argument as anything. In this case, I'm going to call that argument as name, and then you put your colons, and inside of this you have to write the body or the logic of the function. You can also write some sort of a documentation, and you can do that by using your triple quotes. So you can say that this function greets Zorten. Let us go to the next line and let us print out a greeting message. So what we can do is we can simply print out a message. We can use our formatted string, and then we can say Zola followed by the name. Now let us see how we can define the types for this function. We can say that this function of greeter accepts one argument, and we can define the type right over here. So we can say my argument has to be the type of a string, and since this function returns nothing, so we can say that this function is going to return none. Let's create one more function called as main. So you can say this is my main function. This function does not accept any arguments, and this function returns nothing. Here we can create a list of all of the friends. So I can create a variable called as friends, and let me assign some values to it. So these are all of the lists of the friends, and we want to greet all of these friends. We can create a very simple for loop, and using the for loop we can call this function. Let me show how it is to be done, but before that let me add the types for this as well. So friends is a list, and the data type is a string. On the next line we can say that for my friend in my list of friends, for each iteration I simply want to invoke the function of greeter and pass a name. So what we can say right over here is for each iteration I want to call the function of greeter, and I simply want to pass the friend each time. Now the reason why we have created a main function is just by sake of convention. We always like our programs to start with a function which is named as main. Now let us see how to use this function. You need to invoke or you need to call this function in order for our program to run. So on the next line we can invoke our main function, and the way to invoke is by just writing main along with the brackets. So whenever you write the brackets, that means that you want to invoke the function. If you just write like this, it means an assignment, but if you want to run, that means you want to put the brackets. So let me save this and let me try to run this file, and here we have the output. So we have Zola CC, Zola Rocco, and so on.